Good evening. Welcome back. It is Saturday, June 3rd, 2023, as we get the camera set up a little bit better here. Hope that we don't shake it as bad as we have been. Coming to you a little bit later than normal. Watched a full day of racing with the trucks and Xfinity Series racing, both at trucks at Gateway and Xfinity at Portland. A couple pretty exciting races there. So we'll start off with a few events. On this day in 1978, Carol Yarborough wins at Nashville Speedway, the short track that is, Nashville Fairgrounds. He leads all 420 laps, something that nobody ever thought would do again, and Jeff Burton would accomplish at the feat in 2000 at New Hampshire. 1984, Terry Labonte wins at Riverside, so this would be his first win in 1984, his championship season. He'd win at Bristol later in the year, becoming the first champion since 1973 to win the Cup Series race or Cup Series title without winning a speedway race, meaning a track of 1 mile or more, an oval track of 1 mile or more. 1989, Rick Wilson wins his final career Busch Series race at Dover, driving for Henderson Motorsports, the 75 Food Country car, which still races in the Truck Series to this day. In 1990, Derek Cope wins his final career Cup Series race, as well as the final win for Whitcomb Racing. Excuse me. I only have 3 birthdays today. Born on this date in 1940, sadly passed away of cancer in 1993. I've got a couple cards of him, but they are buried in one of my other boxes. Mr. Connie Saylor. Connie was a journeyman driver, had 1 top 10 in Atlanta back in 1978. Always got as much as he could out of his cars, but never had a top-notch ride. So we have a couple more birthdays. Born on this day, 1995, part-time Xfinity Series, Truck Series, Cup Series driver, has some decent road racing skills, Mr. Josh Biliki. Of course, I know he has a road racing background, but he's tried to make his way into NASCAR. Has had limited success. I think he's got a couple of top 10s in the Cup Series at places like Daytona. And our third driver, who has done well at big races, born on this date in 1976, and in my opinion has had one of the, I don't want to call it stranger careers, but he is the most unsuccessful successful driver, or maybe you could reverse those. He's the most successful unsuccessful driver, and that's Jamie McMurray. And the reason I say this, Jamie ran from, 2003 all the way till 2016 or 2017, full-time in the Cup Series. Never once finished in the top 10 in points, but had, 10 wins. He had a strong career, but just never could tie up a full season. Of course, 2001 and 2002, he was driving in the Busch Series for Bruco Motorsports. There you see one of the cars, Williams Travel Centers. He was called up to Cup in late 2002 to replace Sterling Marlin. Of course, he won in his second race ever at Charlotte. Then 2003, moved over to the Ganassi team, or from the 40 to the 42 with the Haviland sponsorship. You see they kind of changed their livery a little bit. Then they went back to the traditional Texaco Star. Then he went over to Roush after a couple years at Ganassi, replacing Kurt Busch after the end of the 2005 season. Kurt, they actually changed the number from 97 to 26 to kind of change their identity. Still had many of the same sponsors, Irwin and Sharpie, and some of the other rotating Roush sponsors. Here you see the Sharpie look. Then in 2010, hopped over to DEI, taking over the one car from MTJ, who went to Michael Waltrip Racing. And right out of the box, won the Daytona 500. And he also won the Brickyard 400 that year. I went to the Brickyard that year, and it was kind of funny. His teammate with the same initials, JM, Juan Montoya, led the most laps in that race and probably should have won, but a late race pit penalty elevated Jamie to the lead. Then he continued when the Ganassi team was merged with Earnhardt, and then how did that go? It was DEI, then they merged with Ganassi. Then they kind of dropped the Earnhardt part quietly, and then he just kind of ended his career there driving for Chip. So a few of the cars, of course, is going to have the Coors Light blurred out, but that was his second start in the 40 car. I don't have one of the different livery of the 42, but the Texaco Star livery right here. Like I said, the Roush 26. This was the 97 team that Kurt Busch had won the title with. This was the only good shot of a Bass Pro Shops #1 card that I could find. And then you have the last couple here, the Cessna and the McDonald's rides that J-Mac also drove. So a lot of, he had a lot of sponsors. He only drove for 2 teams, essentially, Ganassi and Roush. But he had a lot of sponsors. Jamie was a driver I felt stayed out of controversy, stayed out of trouble. Probably the biggest thing I can ever remember Jamie getting involved with on the track was the one year, late race at Martinsville one year. He was racing, I think he might have been a lap down, and he kept Newman behind him. Newman was battling Jeff Gordon, I believe it was, for the win. And post-race, Newman made the comment about Rusty's future son-in-law blocking him. So I don't know what that was all about, but I just remember that was probably the most heated thing that Jamie ever got in. I'm sure there was some dust-ups he had on the track, but he was never really a controversial figurehead in a lot of ways, and seemed to represent his sponsors rather well. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and we will be back tomorrow with another rip. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening.